In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to manage your time when taking the PMP exam. My name is Andrew Ramdial, and I'm the author of this book, The PMP Exam Prep Simplified for the current PMP exam. Let's go ahead and get started. So one of the most frequently asked questions I get from students that are taking my live class or taking my e-learning courses on a variety of platforms, by the way, you've noticed this a lot in my live YouTube sessions, is Andrew, how do we manage our time? How do we know when to take breaks and how long should we spend on a question? And that's what I'm going to answer in this video. So let's get right into it and have some fun doing this. Okay, so the first thing up is I want to give you some exam statistics. The first thing that we should know is that our exam is 180 questions. You're going to have 230 minutes to answer those 180 questions, and you're going to get two 10-minute breaks. Now, the two 10-minute breaks are not included in the 230 minutes. That means that to take the entire exam, if you're going to spend all of the time doing it, that means that you're going to be there for 250 minutes in total, a little over 4 hours, if you include the breaks, which you should, because I'm going to tell you you should take your breaks. So 180 questions, 230 minutes. Now, each question is going to take about 1.2 minutes, which is a little over 1 minute a question. Now, that may sound like that's a lot of time, but trust me when I say that this nearly 4 hours goes by pretty quickly. Now, the other thing is that the exam is actually broken down to 3 parts, and it's because of those breaks. So let's go through how it's broken down, and then we're going to talk about breaks. So the first thing up is when you start your exam, you start, of course, at question number 1. And basically, it's broken into these 3 parts. You're going to start at question number 1. You're going to go all the way up to question 60. This is going to be part 1 of the test. Now, after you finish question 60, you submit it, and then you get a break for 10 minutes. When you take your break and you come back, you're going to start from question 61, and you're going to go up to question 120. Then it's going to ask you, when you submit this, it's going to say, would you like to take another break, which you will. And when you come back from that break, you're going to start at question number 121, all the way now to question 180, and then the exam ends. So the exam is basically broken into 3 sets. The first set is questions 1 to 60. The second set is questions 61 to 100. And the third set is broken into question 121 to 180. Now, this is something that you should keep in mind when taking your exam, because it's going to tell you if you want to submit it, and then it's going to tell you for you to submit it and then move on to the next. Now, you notice that you have these 2 breaks here. So this break, let's say this is break number 1, and this is break number 2. So you have break 1 and break 2. Now, let's talk about these particular breaks. You should, let me not say should, you have to take your break. All right, you have to take these breaks. Why? There is such a thing as exam fatigue. I personally have taken over 100 certification exams, and I get exam fatigue quite often. Now, what exactly is exam fatigue? Exam fatigue occurs when you're doing one repetitive task for so long that you stop caring about whether you pass or you fail. I'll give you guys a quick story. I took PGMP, Program Management Professional, and in this exam, it was a very long test. It was about 4 hours. It's a PMI exam also. And I think it was like 180 questions also. So it was about this 4-hour test, and I didn't take any breaks. After the 3-hour mark, I stopped caring about the test. The exam fatigue had came in so much that I wasn't reading questions thoroughly. I was selecting answers too quickly. And actually, the last 5 questions of that exam, I never answered it. Let me not say answered. I never read it. I just answered it by looking at the choices and say, oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Oh, A sounds good. B sounds good. C sounds good. Just keep clicking next. Because towards the end of it, I didn't care whether I pass or I fail. Now, this is a very stupid thing I did looking back at it now. Now, I did manage to pass. I don't even know how I managed to pass, but I did manage to pass somehow on that test. Now, so what I'm telling you guys is exam fatigue is real. And I've seen this happen to way too many students that just sits there for way too long. And going towards the end, they start to miss easy questions. They're not reading carefully. They let their guard down. The first thing that sounds good to them, they select it even though that's not the right answer. And they stop caring about passing or failing. If you start contemplating in your head that I'm going to retake this test at another day and you're going to start studying and become better to pass it again, that's called exam fatigue. You need to take a break. So let's make sure we take those breaks. Now let's talk about what we do during the break. Make sure that during the break, you don't sit down all the time. Stand up, walk around a little bit for those 10 minutes. So maybe do some push-ups, do some jumping jacks, do some squats or something. Get some blood flowing in your body. Make sure you eat something so you don't get hungry. I know when I'm hungry, it's very hard to concentrate. Make sure to eat something to revive or give you more fuel. Drink some water, drink some coffee. Now, make sure to prep all meals before your exam starts. I can't stress that enough. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have your exam at 9 a.m. in the morning. Now, your first break is going to be around like 10:15 or 10:20. So you want to make sure before your exam starts, you prep all your meals. Don't try to make eggs in the morning while you're taking a 10-minute break. Don't try to brew coffee during that 10-minute break. Your coffee should be brewed. Your eggs should have been made before your exam starts. So during the break, it's nice and smooth, right? You come outside, you walk around a little bit, the coffee's in the pot, you pour some coffee, you eat some eggs, you do some jumping jacks, everything is nice and clear, and then you come back in, answer the next 1,620 questions, then you come back out, you take the break again, maybe you eat some lunch at that time, and this is all prepped meals. Drink some water, drink some coffee, whatever, go back, take your last set of questions, and you're done. That's my recommendation. Prep everything, take the breaks. Now, I want to talk to you guys about these chunks of questions that we have here. So, again, 3 sets. First set's 1 to 60, second set 61 to 120, and third set 121 to 180. Now, there's something about these sets that you should know, and not a lot of people are talking about right now, is that when you mark a question for review and you submit them, you will not have the ability to go back to them in that set. So here's what I mean. So when you're answering a question, there's going to be a little box at the top that says mark for review. And if you check the box, great. So let's say you get to question 10. And you read it and you're like, well, this question looks a little difficult. So I'm going to come back to it later. I'm going to answer it, make sure to answer it. And I'm going to come back a little bit later. Never leave a question unanswered because you never know if you'll ever have time to come back to it. Anytime you read a question, give it your best shot, select an answer, don't leave a question blank. Put an answer in there, even if you might think it's the wrong one, and then you mark it for review, and then you can come back. So you mark question 10 for review. Well, when you get to the end of the 60 question set, it's going to say, would you like to submit it? When you submit it, that's when the break starts, all right? So you have to submit it to have the break start. Now, when you come back from the break, that first question, that first set of 1 to 60, you can't go back to at all. So remember that. All right. So whatever you mark for review within that, whether it's the first set, the second set, you can never come back to it. So if you mark question, let's say question 90, which is in the second set, and then you submit it at question 120, you're not going to be able to come back to it when you start that third set. So once you submit, there's no coming back. Keep that in mind. So before you submit that set of questions, review all of it before submitting it. Because when you come back, it's not going to be available. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the time itself. So this video is called Timer. Let's talk about the time itself. So what I've done is I've given you some estimated number. Now this I've been through, I go through this in my class when I teach the course. I go through the timer with them. And again, 1.2 minutes a question, a little over a minute a question. So after the first 60 question, that should be within 75 minutes into the test, or an hour and 15 minutes in. So if you started the exam at 9 a.m., you should look to finish that first 60. And this includes reviewing them at around 10:15, basically 75 minutes in. Now, if you're like at maybe 70 minutes, or that's good. If it's 65 minutes, that's fine too. If you're at like 120, that's fine too. That'll be 80 minutes. If you're at 85, maybe that's an hour, 25 minutes. That's okay, right? Don't panic. But if you're at like 1 hour and 40 minutes in the first 60 questions, you better panic, because you're going to really run out of time. So be careful with the time. So what I'm telling you here is just an estimated number. After that first set, it should be right around 75 minutes into the exam. After your second set of questions, you should be within 160 minutes, or within 2 hours and 40 minutes in. So if you start at 9 o'clock, it should be around like 11:40 when you start taking that second break. Remember I said it was right around like lunchtime there. So you take your break. Now when you come back, that means that you're starting up your exam right around the 2 hour 40-minute mark. So you have like another 100. Actually, I have another what? 60 plus 20, I have another 80 minutes or so to answer the last 121 to 180 questions. And then the exam ends at the 230, 3 hour, 50 minutes. So just to do a quick recap, you take your exam, questions 1 to 60. That should be done in the first 75 minutes. Questions 61 to 120, right around 160 minutes or 2 hours and 40 minutes. You come back, the exam timer starts again for question 121 to 180. That you're going to start from around 160 all the way up to this 230 minutes now that you have. So basically, you're trying to do each section in about 75 minutes is really what it works out to. It's about 72 minutes, but let's just say within 70 to 75 minutes per set is really what these numbers are working out to. So when people say, Andrew, how fast should I finish a question? A little over a minute a question. So this is time management for your exam. All right, make sure you watch the clock. If you are running way behind on the timer, that last set of questions, you got to make sure you speed it up. If you take that first break and you realize that I'm up 1 hour and 40 minutes, then you know that second set, you got to speed it up. Remember something, if you don't answer a question, that question will be marked wrong, and you don't want that. At least try to get to it, and even if you guess a choice, it's better than leaving it blank. Okay, hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. Join me on my YouTube sessions. Give the video a like so hey, other people taking their PMP exam can find the video. And I hope to see you in my YouTube session, and I wish you the best of luck on passing your PMP exam.